Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session in which we will discuss the special revenue funds. The special revenue funds is one of the 5 governmental funds: the permanent funds, the capital project funds, the debt service fund, the special revenue funds that we will discuss today, and obviously the big one is the general fund. Now, you need to know the purpose for each of these funds. What's the purpose of the funds? What's the criteria to be considered general or special purpose or capital project? You need to know the journal entries. You need to know the accounting part. You need to know the related financial statements. Today, we'll focus on the special revenue funds. In the next session, we would look at journal entries and the end product, which is the financial statements. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, farhatlectures.com.
Farhat Accounting Lectures is a supplemental educational tool that's going to help you with your CPA exam preparation as well as your accounting courses. My CPA material is aligned with your CPA review course such as Becker, Roger, Wiley, Gleam, Miles. My accounting courses are aligned with your accounting courses, broken down by chapter and topics. My resources consist of lectures, multiple choice questions, true-false questions, as well as exercises. Go ahead, start your free trial today.
Let's start by discussing the purpose of the Special Revenue Fund. The Special Revenue Fund accounts for resources that are restricted or committed, not assigned, to expenditure for a specific purpose. And that purpose cannot be for debt service, because we do have a special debt service fund. It cannot be for a capital project because we also have capital project funds. Simply put, to establish a special revenue fund, the resources must be restricted, I am repeating myself, or committed, not assigned, and those for a specific purpose. Once again, assignment alone does not meet the requirement, ensuring that the fund's purpose and usage are clearly defined and regulated. We have to define the purpose of the fund. It has to have a specific purpose, and that's why it's called special revenue fund. It has to be restricted and committed. The purpose has to be restricted and committed. Now, we need to know how to do accounting for the special revenue funds. And that part is easy. It's the same as the general fund. What does that mean? It means we use modified accrual accounting. It means we use budget, encumbrance accounting. Just simply put, it's a governmental fund, modified accrual. Now, since it's a special revenue fund, how do we collect revenue? Well, we collect revenue by setting up special revenue fund, restricted revenue. So when we get the revenue, that revenue is for a specific purpose, And when we say for a specific purpose, it means it's restricted or committed for that specific sources. That revenue could be coming from intergovernmental grant. For example, the state government gives a grant to the local government, or the federal government gives a grant to the state or to the local government. That could be a special revenue fund because it's restricted for a specific purpose. It could be an exchange transaction. An exchange transaction means we can impose a fee and impose a fee for a service and use those funds for a particular purpose, for a restricted purpose. It could be non-exchange transaction. We can impose taxes, for example, taxes for the 911 surcharge, and that's very common on your phone. If you look at your phone bill, there's going to be a 911 surcharge. It means the government is collecting this money for the purpose of doing what? Having this 911 calling center, a system that's going to help people when they call for emergency. Now, we could have multiple special revenue funds. It doesn't have to be one, it can be multiple. That's in contrast to the general fund. Remember, we could only have one general fund. The accounting is the same as the general fund, modified accrual, and revenue could be coming from intergovernmental grant, exchange transaction, non-exchange transaction. As I mentioned, a common use is intergovernmental grants, where the federal or the state government allocate resources to local government. Here, once they allocate the resources, these funds come with legislative restriction. So we gave you the money, you have to use the money for a particular purpose. An example would be, for example, we give you money to train your law enforcement officers. Well, it's a special purpose fund. It's a special revenue fund. or state and federal grant aimed at promoting public health and mental health program. So this is a special revenue fund. You can only spend money there. Or recreational facility maintenance, private donation directed toward the repair and maintenance of parks and recreational facilities. That's all you could use the funds for. Or education funding, state and federal aid designated for elementary and secondary education. So you get this money, you keep track of them in this special revenue fund because those funds are committed, restricted for a specific purpose. Also, what we need to know about the special revenue fund is they could have supplemental resources. Special revenue funds can be supplemented by other resources. In other words, they can get revenue from other sources than that specific main source, for example, the federal government. However, simply assigning resources to these funds does not make them a special revenue fund. They have to be special revenue fund. The supplementary resources will not make them because that's basically a mere assignments of the fund. And this emphasizes the need for a clear and specific funding sources that meet the criteria of restricted and committed. So the special revenue fund, they are restricted or committed, not assigned for a specific purpose. When we discontinue, when we finish this fund, when a substantial portion of the resources no longer comes from a restricted or a committed source, the government should discontinue the special revenue fund. And what would happen once it's no longer coming? Well, the resources will be part of the general fund because we no longer are restricting these funds for a particular purpose. In addition to the intergovernmental transfer or intergovernmental grants, we could have tax-supported activities. Special revenue funds are used when specific taxes, now we are imposing taxes for a specific purpose. Proceeds support designated activity, specific purpose. What could be some example of that? Well, as I mentioned earlier, the emergency 911 surcharge is a tax specifically allocated to support critical public support safety infrastructure. Consumers pay the surcharge, for example, on your cell phone, and then the cell phone company will transfer this money to the government. The government will put that money in a special service fund, special revenue fund, to support the 911 infrastructure. Hotel occupancy taxes, that's another common one. When you travel, look at your bill, there's going to be a hotel occupancy tax commonly used to promote tourism and fund local tourism related activities and infrastructure such as convention centers and cultural events. So when you travel, you stay at a hotel in Florida, in California, in Washington State, wherever you are traveling. If you look at your bill, you're going to see there's a hotel occupancy taxes, and that tax is imposed for that locality for a specific purpose, for example, to promote tourism, and they may want to build a convention center or promote some cultural event. So it's for a specific purpose, special revenue fund. The money that they collect from the consumer because they stay at the hotel is used for a specific purpose. It goes into the special revenue fund. Another common one is gasoline taxes, and you see this a lot. Also, when you fill your car with gasoline, the state government might impose a tax, and that tax is used for maintaining highway and bridges. And this makes sense. If you're using gasoline, you're driving your car. If you're driving your car, you're using the highways and the bridges. So it's naturally makes sense to do what? To impose tax to repair highways and bridges specifically for that purpose. That money will go in the special revenue fund. Also, the lottery proceeds, funds generated from the state-run lottery, are often earmarked. Earmarked means designated for a specific purpose, such as education, veteran services, and public parks. So we keep the proceeds for the special revenue fund for a particular purpose. Let's take a look at a multiple choice questions from farhatlectures.com. For which of the following would the city of Greenfield most probably establish a special revenue fund? So let's take a look at this. A property tax revenue assigned for the general governmental operation. Well, this is easy to eliminate. It says the general governmental operation. It means it goes to the general fund. So A is out. Federal grant received specifically for the construction of a new public library. Now you have to be careful here. You say, well, it's received specifically. But for what purpose? To build a library. Remember, to build a library, capital project fund. The resources are used for building a capital asset, capital project fund, the library. So that's not special revenue fund. Sales tax revenue restricted for road maintenance and repair. I would say we're collecting taxes, and that taxes is specifically restricted for a purpose. road maintenance and repair. I would say this is a special revenue fund, special revenue fund, special revenue fund. But let's keep C and let's look at D. Revenues from parking meters used for the general public safety expenses. Notice here, general public could be for anything, could be for the police department, could be for the fire department, could be for many purposes. General public safety expenses, not specific really, therefore it's not special revenue fund. The best answer is C. What should you do now? You want to go to Farhat lectures, look at additional MCQs. We're not done yet. We are going to work an exercise that's going to show you the journal entries, maybe the end product, the financial statement that comes with the special revenues fund. What should you do? Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself, stay motivated, and of course, stay safe.